Welcome back, guys. I hope you all are doing fine, and we are going to continue our session on steps of research. And today, in this particular video, we're going to talk about generalization and interpretation of data. Along with that, we're going to talk about reporting and evaluating research, and at the end, we're going to talk about communicating the research findings. Right? I hope you all are ready. So, shall we start? Well, after you have gone through hard work of collecting data and analyzing your data in research project, right? Now here comes next. This is where you need to put on your detective hat again and start making sense of all those numbers and findings. It's like piecing together a puzzle. First off, you have got to figure out what your data is really saying. This is where you draw inferences. Think of it as a reading between the lines. You're not just looking at the data, you're trying to understand the story it's telling. This part is super important because if you jump to conclusion too fast or get it wrong, the whole point of your research might go down, the drain. Now let's say you started your research with a hunch, right? A hypothesis. If you have tested this hypothesis multiple times and keeps holding up, you might be onto something big, right? You could be at the brink of building a new theory. That's like hitting a jackpot in the research world. The real gold in research is being able to make generalization, like to say, like, hey, this isn't just a one-time thing. It's something we can see happening over, again and again. Right, but what if you dove into your research without any specific hypothesis? Right, you can still make sense of your result by fitting them into some existing theory. Right, this is what we call interpretation. You're basically trying to find a place for your new puzzle piece in the big picture. The cool part about interpretation is that it often leads to more questions. It's like when you're watching a mystery movie and one clue leads to another. Before you know it, you're down a whole new rabbit hole of research possibility. Whether you're testing a hypothesis or just trying to fit your finding into broader theory, the end game is to share what you have discovered. You do this through the research report, right? It's like telling a story of your research journey from start to finish and sharing the insights you have gained. It's not just about the numbers, it's about what those numbers mean and how they might be useful to other people, be they other researcher, companies, or just curious mind. Right. So in a nutshell, after you have done the kind of legwork or gathering and analyzing data, your job is to be a bit of a storyteller also. You need to interpret what you have found, look for the bigger picture, maybe come up with some new theories, and then share your stories with the world. And who knows, your research might just be the spark that ignites a whole new area of exploration. Right, let's move to the next slide, which is about reporting and evaluating research. Well, think of research reports as this cool document that tell you all about a study someone did. Right, it's like a behind the scene look at their methods and what they found out and the data they used. Right, and you might be wondering now why this particular thing matter. Well, these reports are super important because they let everyone know what the study was all about. They're like a detailed story of the research from start to finish, making sure anyone reading can get the full picture and trust what's being said. Right, and there are types of research report as well. Now, not all the research reports are the same. They vary based on what kind of research was done and who the intended readers are, right? This is all about studies where people's opinion, feelings, or experience are the main focus. I'm talking about qualitative research report. These reports are more about words and description than numbers. If you're doing a project that's about understanding how people feel about something, this is your qualitative research report, right? Then next we have quantitative research report. And these reports are the total opposite of qualitative ones. They're all about the numbers, right? Think surveys with lots of stats and percentage. If your study is about measuring or counting stuff, this is where you land, right? The next is technical research report. Now these are for the kind of brainiacs. They are super detailed and are meant for folks who are already pretty smart about the subject. These reports are common in industries and businesses where they need the nitty-gritty details, right? Next we have popular research report. Think of these as research reports for everyone. They are written in a way that anyone can understand, even if they are not an expert in the field. It's about spreading knowledge far and wide. So, when you're tasked with making a research report, think about who's going to read it. Are they fellow students or industry pros or just regular folks interested in your topic? Your audience decides, how you'll write your report. Remember, the goal is to share your awesome research in a way that everyone can get it. The next is we are going to talk about steps to write research report. Right. Think of a research report as your ultimate guidebook, showcasing all the hard work and cool discoveries you made during your research journey. Here's what you usually include in it. You start with the title, right? Everything starts with the title, right? This is like naming your adventure. You want a title that captures the main goals and cool findings of your research. It's like the headline of a new story, make it catchy and informative. Then we include table of contents, right? Consider this your research roadmap. It helps everyone easily find what they're looking for in your report, right? It's like the content page of a book or a menu in a restaurant. Then we include abstract and summary. This is super kind of important version of your entire research. It's like a movie trailer, guys, giving away just enough to get people interested without spoiling all the good parts. Right? Keep it short and sweet, around 100 to 150 words. Right? Just hit the key points, what you did and how you did it and what you found out. Right. Next we have like background and introduction. Here's what you do. Here's where you set the stage, guys. What's the big question on, problem your research tackle, or why is it important? Think of it like the opening scene of a TV show, setting up the story and getting everyone ready for what's to come. Right. The next step you can see is literature review. Right. Imagine you're a detective. Before solving a new case, you'd look at what other detectives have done, right? That's your literature review. You're checking out what other researchers have said or discovered about your topic. It's like doing your homework before starting your own project, right? So next we have like a research methodology is like, this is a kind of how to part of your report, right? How did you do your research? Who or what did you study? This is like writing a recipe, to guide for your research, right? And then we have findings or research result. So this is kind of the big reveal. This is where you tell everyone what you discover, right? It's like the climax of a movie where all the action peaks. Next is discussion, right? Now you get to play like analyst. Take those findings and dig into them. Why are they important? Do they match what you thought you'd find? It's like reviewing a movie, right? Explaining what worked and what didn't and why it mattered, right? And at the end we have like conclusion, where we kind of wrap everything, summarize your main discoveries and talk about the big picture. What does your research mean for the world? It's like the final episode of a TV series where everything comes together, right? And at the end we have references and appendices, and this is very important because this is a kind of shout out section. List all the books, articles or website you use. It's like giving credit to the artist when you make a mixtape, right? And remember, a research report is more than just a bunch of sections. It's a story about your journey or discovery. So when you're putting it together, think of how each part adds to the overall story you're telling. Keep it engaging, clear, and fun, just like you tell a story to a friend, right? So that was all about steps to write research, guys. And in fact, research report. Next, we're going to talk about communicating the research findings and recommendation. So what do you mean by that? Well, There are types that you can communicate your research finding, like for example research paper. Think of this as a detailed story about what we found. We dive into the topic, use information from all sorts of places like books, articles, and even the internet, and then mix in our own thoughts and insight. Then we can also communicate with a research article. This is like giving a report card of our research. We write it all down, submit it to a journal, and if it's good enough, it gets published. It's the ultimate kind of goal we did it. And next we have a review article. Through that you can also communicate. Like here we get to be the critic kind of figure. We read someone else's article, right? Break it down and give our take on it. It's a great way to see what others are doing, right? And then we can also communicate with like term paper. Remember those end of semester crunch time, remember? Well, term papers are just like that. They are like a final show and tell of what we learned and discovered in our research journey. Then there are other methods like seminar, workshop, conference, webinar, and colloquial, and again congress. Let me tell you about the seminar. Think of this as a mini class. We get together in a small group, talk about a specific topic, and everyone kind of interested in, and it's like a group brainstorming session. Then by workshop also, this is where the action is. We meet up with other people interested in our topic, and together we dissect, discuss, and dive deep. It's interactive and hands-on. Next we have conferences, and imagine a big gathering where all the big brains in our field come together. We talk, exchange ideas, and sometimes even make decisions on what comes next in our research areas, right? And again, there are other methods like webinar. So as you know, these are online gatherings, right? Think of it like a seminar, but you can join from your couch in your house, right? We listen, we learn, and sometime get to ask questions. And then we have colloquium, and here we get to mingle with other smart folks, right? Usually like in subjects like history or humanities. It's a chance to polish our up our existing research with feedback from others. There is another method that we communicate, which is congress. It's a mega meeting, usually once a year, on a specific topic. Lots of discussion, lots of learning happens there, right? So that's a kind of a rundown for you guys. Each of these methods has its own vibe and purpose, right? Whether it's writing up a storm or chatting in a seminar, it's all about getting our findings out there and making our mark. Remember, the goal is to share what we have learned, because what's the point of discovering cool stuff, right, if we keep it to ourselves? We have to share it, right? And let's get our research out there and rock this specific world, right? So guys, that was all about in this session, and in our next session we'll talk about thesis and article writing, and of course we'll talk about the styles of referencing like MLA, APA, all these formats, right? So I hope to see you there. Thank you so much and have a good day. Bye bye.